Alright, oops, let's try this again. Okay, let's try this. I'm gonna hope and pray that this works properly. Kicking everything up here. It's about as good as I'm gonna be able to get it for now, because for some weird reason, OBS decided not to, cooperate with me properly. I do humbly apologize for that, folks. Hopefully things will kick on from here. I hope, anyway. Worst case scenario, if this one doesn't work for whatever reason, I will just need to do a pre-recorded segment, and I don't want to have to do that if I can help it, but we'll have to see. We'll see how it goes. Let me go ahead and fire this back up here. Ruben, are you still with me, bud?
Yeah, stay here, no worries.
Okay, perfect. So everything here is looking pretty good. Yeah, just to kind of pick up where we left off officially, since I'm not going to play the intro and everything again, for risk that my frames will continue dropping. We did officially get announced a Medarot Survivors that will be launching sometime early February, with with a handful of new characters and some new mechanics that have never been before seen in the Medarot series. So it's been a little bit of a mixed bag with what was announced and how it was received, but I believe that as time goes on, it'll probably pick itself up and just kind of see more information as time goes forward with new stuff that's incoming or new models or everything like that. And one of the other really big points that they announced with this was the fact that that there's a lot of huge artists that they'll be reaching out to specifically to keep this game going and just help reach out to more people that were not previously engaged or contracted with Medarot to do stuff before. Ruben, what are your thoughts overall on what they showcased with this first trailer?
I think it's quite interesting. I think when it comes to just if you look at this from a genre perspective, I think they are delivering on the survivor aspect quite a bit. From what we've seen, you got your classic elements, absolutely. I think it's a good first step into the idea of creating more spin-offs, and like they said in their official stream, to create more opportunities for other people to interact with the franchise who might not really know about it. But in the same breath, I do believe that there's a few minor things I would have loved to see differently. We have some information about the gameplay, so we don't really know yet how it's going to work out. We've seen a few interesting things. But for me personally, the one thing that I haven't seen and I wish they would have displayed like right away is, well, what makes, a Medarot game a Medarot game? It's the interchangeability of parts, it's the customization. I hope that's something that they will elaborate on a little bit during the actual, for the gameplay and development and etc. If not, that seems like such a missed chance for sure.
Right, I 100% agree, and like I said, it looks like that the reception has been just a little bit mixed overall as far as to what to expect. But much like the conversation was between you and I before we went live, I'm kind of okay with the idea on the grounds that Survivors games are actually quite easy to understand once you played at least one or two. Very overall simplistic commands and gameplay, so it doesn't really require a lot of brain power. So even if us Western fans actually tried to pick it up or plan to and try to play one or two sessions, I really don't think it'll take nearly as much effort or brain power to have to kind of sit down and understand translations and mechanics nearly as hard as we would need to with Medarot S.
Yeah, I agree. I believe this is definitely more of a casual game, especially when you look at Medarot S in its PvP and higher endgame content cycle, where you actually need to properly plan. This is definitely the kind of game I can see myself play when, I'm in a train going to work or something like that. Yeah, I definitely don't think it's a bad thing that something like this has come out. I'm quite happy, like I said, that we're seeing more different avenues being explored. But yeah, I think especially the context around the release and the way it was teased has definitely left people perhaps wanting a little more. Yeah, for sure.
A little bit to be desired. I definitely
yeah,
agree.
Exactly.
But even just with the brief gameplay that they showcased in the trailer, it looks, at least to me anyway, it looks engaging enough to keep you going, especially, like I said, if you've played Survivor-type games before. And if that's not your particular genre, then that's 100% okay, too. Vampire Survivor with Metabot skin. Yeah, essentially that's the case, and that's kind of what Ruben was saying earlier with it, is it doesn't quite feel exactly like a Medarot game as one would expect of, say, even like Medarot S, which is kind of its own standalone thing as of current. But, it's still at least a new endeavor, so it's not necessarily anything that's like completely reskinned or like a half-hearted kind of development. So I like to believe that this will at least be the chance for them to open up their doors for other possible endeavors in the future, especially now with the lawsuit kind of starting to wind down, since we have not heard anything for about a year or so as far as updates and developments are concerned. So like I said, I guess we will have to see going forward, just kind of what to expect with the game's launch and its reception, and just kind of see how it goes overall.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see, if you're going to get any more content and, teasers before it goes live that might sway some of the people around. I think when I kind of mentioned on a context, I think the most important thing to kind of keep in mind, or, maybe not everyone knows, is that they originally teased the concept of this for the 25th anniversary about 2 years ago, but like you said yourself, to do some proceedings regarding lawsuits, they weren't able to push forward from what we understand. I think, therefore, people, expected it to be something a bit more bigger. It was a 25th anniversary. They've had 2 more years to work on, whatever they were going to show us. So I think, yeah, that makes sense. I also feel... No, sorry, go ahead.
That actually is a really good point, though. And in my chat, Callie actually made a really good comment as well, just to kind of keep my chat up engaged as well, saying it would have been more acceptable any other time, not for the anniversary. And I agree,
yes. But
much like you said as well, we do have to remember that they wanted to tease this sooner. Probably not even as like a grand project, but something that, could keep the community engaged while they're still working on bigger, better things, through history. So I guess you could say that Survivors was kind of delayed with its reveal and its release, which kind of fell into a bad timing kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I'd see it as well. I think because, especially last year as well, when they kind of reflected on the Medarot Day from the year before, so that'll be the 25th, they kind of told us that they wanted to show us something bigger, but they were not able to. But as like a small reward, they were going to show us something now, so that being the 26th last year, as a tease for like the next big upcoming thing. Which then, of course, was announced properly today for this anniversary. I think because of that kind of hype cycle that they introduced, and especially the way they advertised it, because the way it was advertised was that it was a beautiful art piece for the 25th, where you see some of the main characters kind of walk off screen, if you will, and then they teased that there was a next set of characters where the image ended, almost like they were like passing on the stick, like to like the next generation.
Right.
And I think that kind of like communication with the fans and the confirmations that I have received have definitely made people, including myself, more expecting an announcement for a new main game entry. Let it be mobile or not, I don't know what direction they will take this in the future, but something that follows the same formulas that as the 9 games that came before this. It's I think it's quite difficult for people, including myself. I must admit.
Kind of a mixed reception.
Yeah, exactly, because one part I'm very happy we get new content, and we'll get into this shortly, I'm sure of, about some of the new things that come with that. But on the other hand, I was so excited for something else that I think it's going to take me a second to appreciate the fact that we got something in the first place, if that makes sense.
No, I 100% agree. I was thinking about it too on my way home from work when the trailer first dropped. It was kind of weird at first, thinking, "Oh, cool, it's a survival game," but what's more the information? There's got to be more behind it. So it kind of did leave a little bit to be desired, I suppose I can call it. But like I said, I'm gonna kind of leave it to only time will tell as we get closer to the launch date, and see if maybe something else will come out, or another unique mechanic or something similar that might help it stand apart. One thing I do want to point out, though, before we do officially go forward and continue on with this and try to make do with what we can, is the fact of it being on mobile, is the fact that it is kind of weird that it is, yeah. It is a little of a weird thing that they're putting it on mobile, but as a comment I saw in the chat the other night said, it is kind of the platform that everybody's jumping on because everybody can do it, and with the ability to create alternative IDs for other regions, such as Japan with the Google account and such, being relatively easy to do, it's a little easier to reach a global audience in that respect. Whereas if it were a console game, such as say on the Nintendo Switch or even on Steam or something, it does kind of make it tougher to it does kind of make it tougher to coordinate a release with that, because they have to play with the console that they're trying to release on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I feel like that's something that more communication from Imagineer's side in the future would like be appreciated, so kind of know what to expect. But like you said, it's a more casual kind of sit back and just kind of enjoy this for like before something else happens, really.
Right. It's not meant to be a really big thing, but just something casual to kind of keep things going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the problem that, and I do agree with Kalidor here as well, I don't think that would be very difficult to have this directly ported, however, to, like, I don't know, Indeed PC, or,
Right.
you know, publish it somewhere where it's a bit more accessible. Because, yeah, it is a more casual kind of game, but it would be interesting for them to explore more mainline areas as well. I'm not saying, like, publish to Switch, or, you know, put it on, like, the next Nintendo console or anything like that, because, you know, that's what they did in the past. But I would like to see this being a bit more broader approach, so we can get an idea of like what are we teasing or testing here. But we're now kind of stuck in that circle of, oh, it's going to be another mobile game. Oh, it's another
Right.
mobile game.
Right.
I wish they would like kind of expand a little bit on that, even if it's just like a mention, like, you know, don't worry, we are experimenting more and trying to see where we get to. I know maybe that's a bit like too demanding, but at the same time, it's been a good 5 years since Medarot S came out, and
Pretty close, yeah.
yeah, and you know, you kind of hope that you kind of be up to date or like be aware of like there's anything in the pipeline. And I kind of hope, really do, that for like the last 2 years, this Medarot Survivors game has not kept up the entire pipeline,
Right.
but they've had the time to continue working on something else, if that makes sense.
Right. And I do want to make one comment, though, before we do go forward, is the fact that with the lawsuit kind of gumming up the works with everything going on, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually planned something like this sooner, quote unquote, but because the lawsuit happened, it basically shut down any kind of interest or hope in wanting to pursue any further development, because they had to put a lot of their resources and time elsewhere trying to get that situated. But with the lawsuit now for the most part settled, we're just waiting on the final hammer to drop and confirmation that it's done, is we might possibly see more in the future going forward with year 27 of Medarot. But with the announcement of Medarot Survivor, though, we did get to see a handful of new faces that went live with it as well. The first of which is one of the brand new beetle types that will be serving as essentially one of the starters, or at least one of the new mascots to spearhead the game. An elephant beetle type by the name of Alpha Soma that was designed by our relative in-house artist, Tyuga. What are your thoughts on this one overall as a new installment of the KBT line?
I'm gonna be honest, this one grew on me so fast. I think it might be one of my like top 3 KBT designs already. I love that we finally have an accurate way of storing missiles on a KBT type, which is a great start. But just, yeah, in general, I really like it. I've got a few things to say about its design, but I don't want to spoil the other designs that have been announced. But I kind of spotted a fun theme that they're trying to do here. But yeah, nonetheless, it looks beautiful. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I really like the color scheme on it too, because yeah, we have yellow or like gold, yellow, and white before, but adding the blue in there for an extra accent color is actually really nice. I really like that decision that Tyuga did with it, and like you said, with the ability of hiding the missiles behind that that carapace covering on the horn, was a really unique take as well to kind of help him stand apart from other models of the KBT series.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I think it looks really good. It looks, like I said, it looks fantastic. I've kind of made a comment about this a bit earlier as well, but I really believe that this one and its counterpart, which I'm sure we'll get over shortly, they do genuinely feel like they're the next evolution of like the KBT and KWG types. Like they feel properly like this is where we headed to, and that's very, very cool.
Right, and they did that with the teaser a couple of years ago with the 25th anniversary poster as well. So it is going to be really nice to see, even if they do decide to pick this up in the future, or if they do end up doing a Medarot 10 at some point in the future. I'd actually be 100% down if they just said, all right, well, Alpha Soma and his new counterpart are going to be the starters for that to kind of keep things going. I'd be 100% down with that. As for the numbering, seeing Ironheart's comment in there in my chat, They did not actually give an official number to them based on the description in the stream and in the trailer. I'm going to call it right now, though, that they are going to be KBT and KWG 16, because 15 was given to Musha Beetle and Kairen from the Reloaded Sai manga. So that's my assumption anyway, is they just continue on with the numbering. But as we do step into what his counterpart looks like, which is a giant stag beetle named Bularis Mandi, as the counterpart. This is the one that we got the first teaser to last year and just a little bit before the year before, so we kind of already had an idea of what to expect with his design overall, but honestly, the design does not disappoint, as it was also by our resident Tiyuga.
This is stunning. There's no other way to describe it.
And I really like the sharp angular designs as well, kind of reminiscent of like a Navi art style kind of thing, with a lot of sharp angles and a lot of beveled lines with a lot of his armor. And the heel design, which is definitely what's going to set him apart, was a very unique choice as well. But one thing I really like that stood out to me the most with his design is the fact that he's actually symmetrical. Whereas in almost any other model iteration of the KWG line specifically, they're almost always asymmetrical when you get down to the arms. But with this one specifically, he's basically mirrored both ways until he draws the weapon, so that was a really nice touch.
Oh yeah, that's a great observation. I didn't actually notice that. Yeah, you're right. I have to say, I quite like the way that the weapons pop out as well. It definitely feels very futuristic, and not like his a Reloaded counterpart where he looks too futuristic. This definitely looks like something that's a bit more natural, if that makes sense. And
right.
Like you said, the heel design is so cool. They look like crickets, which I think is great.
Yeah, and honestly, if they were to release this design, you know, like just concept art of it, I'd say this looked like it was a rehashed or like a recycled design from Medarot Navi, because it just has that style to it, reminiscent to like how Fujioka Kenki's tackled Navi. And I really like the eye design they went for his visor on that one too. I thought that was really cool, having the wings that go beyond the front and the back of the iris.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think both of them have kind of like that same kind of like decoration in them. It's very cool.
Right, I thought those two were really cool, and even just with these two designs alone, I thought they were off to a really good start, showcasing these two as kind of the next in line, like you said, Ruben. But not only did they say, you know, we're going to be seeing a whole lot more new designs going forward into Medarot Survivor with its launch, but we did also get the official teaser and reveal of 2 more models that will be joining them officially upon launch specifically. The first of one, which really captured a lot of attention, is a brand new Dark Knight type that was designed by Kei Suwabi, a very extremely well-known artist for some very high quality, very high detail art, and it also seemed to be a resident Fate series fan, and that seemed kind of obvious with his portrayal of basically bringing the equivalent of Lancelot XP into the world of Medarot with shadow armor. I gotta say, this one probably absolutely takes the cake, though. It's probably one of the best designs that they revealed so far, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very fun on social media as well, kind of looking at things and seeing Shadow Armor definitely being the one art that's being, you know, liked and shared the most, for sure. It was quite a surprise. I didn't expect something that looks this brutal from, you know, the kind of gameplay that we were shown literally seconds before.
Right, exactly. And then they drop the trailer for it to be revealed in Medarot S as well to kind of help hype it up. And I'm like, honestly, now that takes the cake. But one thing I really liked about this design too is the fact it kind of made a lot of nods to the original NIT line with, say, Knight Armor or Armor Chariot, even if Kei Suwabi didn't even mean to with a lot of it. Like, obviously, you know, DNT stands for Dark Knight, obviously, but there's a lot of elements in the design that kind of make you think and honestly tie back to the original Knight design. Like, for instance, making it wheel-legged, even if like a mono wheel. The helm design with the trail on the back end. Even with the inclusion of a shield too, I thought was a really neat little nod.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And I think it's nice because even though it does kind of point towards the Knight designs, if it makes sense, like, so if I look at Knight designs, I only see like defense, right? That's their whole design characteristic.
Right.
But the nice thing about the Dark Knights, especially this one in particular, is that it takes those exact elements and weaponizes it all. It has
100%.
Yeah, it has wheel-based support as well, but instead of being a stable platform, it's more so it can chase. It has a shield, but there are spikes on it, and of course it has a large double-sided sword, which is also very cool. So yeah, it takes those exact elements, like you said, but then it turns like a offensive aspect on it, which is great. This is so cool. I love this thing.
Absolutely, and one thing I really liked as well was the inclusion of the new skills that came with them as well. And I will actually be revealing, not long after this stream goes down, the 2 breakdowns I did for the models that were revealed in the trailer, just to kind of go over those briefly. But the new skills that Shadow Armor specifically brought to the table was a new skill called Fight Bash, which was basically like Melee Guard, which would essentially negate any melee attacks, but also counter with a Thunder Shock to basically paralyze the enemy as a punish for trying to attack a fellow ally. So I thought that was a really cool nod there as well. And then with the sword basically being a new skill called Minus Attack, which gets bonus damage relative to the number of negative ailments applied to self. That basically puts Shadow Armor in an extremely aggressive position while still maintaining a lot of the massive bulk that Knight types are typically often known for.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you said, I feel like the skill set really like portrays its design, or vice versa, really. And yeah, I think this is a great addition to Medarot S for sure. And hopefully, we will see in Survivor how cool it's there as well.
Right. One last thing I want to say about Shadow Armor before we move forward is the fact that Kei Suwabi also did a really good job of portraying like different eye styles, underneath the helm, with the full visor or the double eye, or even just a single glowing eye as well, kind of doing that kind of like that menacing vibe kind of thing underneath the helm. I thought that was a really nice little attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Also, if you look at its art, its visual art as well, it goes a bit further. You go over the typical red glow that like follows it, almost like the plume on the back of its head.
Right.
Yeah, very cool.
and like you said, he's built to chase, and he's designed to do so ruthlessly. So I'm excited to see how he's going to be portrayed both in S and in Survivor when the game does officially drop. Now, the other model that was revealed officially with release is a model designed by Mine Yoshizaki named Koga Senjo, which is based off of Chang'e, the mythical moon goddess of Chinese mythology. And out of all 4 designs, if Shadow Armor takes the cake of being the most epic looking and detailed, I gotta say Koga Senjo probably takes the cake of being one of the most adorable to date.
Yeah, I can see that, yes.
Very small design, lots of iridescent bright colors, very simplistic looking overall as well. And something to mention about the artist of this one specifically. Now the artist Kei Suwabi was also extremely well known for what he does in his field, but Mine Yoshizaki, for those that are unaware, was also one that did a lot of work on, if not developed outright, the Kimono Friends series. So had a lot of feedback with a lot of elegant or very simplistic or very adorable looking designs, and Koga Senjo most certainly does not disappoint there either. Much like Shadow Armor, she also is debuting in Medarot S as another way to hype up the game. But one thing I really liked was the new skills that she brought to the table as well. For Medarot Survivor, they portray her basically as a passive-aggressive trapping type, where she puts a lot of like mud traps down to slow enemies down or even just erase them entirely. And very similarly to how she would do that in S, they gave her skills like Hyper Wave to slow enemies down, or even something like Shoot Bash, which is the shooting equivalent to Shadow Armor's Fight Bash. Very unique design choice as well with how they chose to put them together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's like a nice all-round, set when you look at it. I feel like, once again, it matches design so elegantly, which is, of course, fantastic. And design-wise itself, yeah, it just... I like how extremely colorful it is. I like how diverse it is. It's it's quite nice.
Right. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing both of these models drop in S, which they actually would have already at time of stream, but also seeing them officially drop in Medarot Survivor when the game does officially launch in February. I am looking forward to seeing how it plays. I did already officially sign up and pre-register for it because I'm definitely down to try it. I'm not normally one for a lot of Survivor type games, but having seen other people play equivalents of like Vampire Survivors or Holocure, I'm interested to see how they're going to portray this one with Medarot, and just kind of see if they kind of tinker with it upon release and as they get closer to it. So they can only show so much with screenshots, and I'm interested to see how they're going to continue that development going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm quite curious to see. Like you said yourself, the fact that all of these are also dropping into Medarot S is, amazing for both parties. And yeah, I will also definitely be trying Survivors at least, and if it matches me, if I like it, then yeah, fantastic. If not, then, well, I will try something else.
At least worth a try, and there always is still Medarot S, which has been maintained and upkept, and they did also state very clearly it's not going anywhere, it's not slowing down anytime soon, so we definitely still have that one we can enjoy and fall back on.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad they did take the time during their live stream to kind of point that out near the end of it. I think they were a little under time, so they had some time to fill. But yeah, the fact that they called out the fact that they will continue to support Medarot S and its development will not be influenced by survivors is, of course, very good.
And honestly, the more endeavors that they have ongoing, it honestly is more opportunities for revenue, in my personal opinion. So even if folks aren't necessarily as enthused over the release of Medarot Survivor or even plan on playing it, the fact that it's still something that they're going to be releasing is still going to generate more interest and more people to play it because, like you said, it's a very casual game because survivors are usually very easy to play, and you don't need a lot of knowledge of Medarot in order to play a survivor game, translated or not. It's just something simple that you can play on the back end, doesn't require a lot of brain power, and just something you can play idly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's, super exciting. And when it comes to, now we've seen all, the full design, something that I did kind of, notice, which I think is quite interesting. Just like Vampire Survivors, it seems to have a bit of a more medieval, yet very Medabots inspired theme behind it. And when you look at the designs, if you look at your KBT type, or all types really, they seem to have some kinds of traditional tropes of RPG classes basically. So typically right now you have your your mage, very very typical. The KBT type almost has cleric design, especially with its unusual head.
Okay.
And of course, Shadow Armor has its more typical Dark Knight kind of fantasy,
paladin kind of defender type.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what? You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I can't unsee it now because that's actually a very unique observation on it. Because you're right. The way most Survivors games like to play is, they portray a theme or a class, that each model particularly specializes in. And like I said, I never even thought of that initially at first. But now that you brought it up, I can't unsee it. It was a very unique take, just to kind of add more charm to how just these 4 designs alone, not even including veterans that we all know and love. I'm very interested to see how they're going to put that together.
And likewise, absolutely.
But as we go forward, that wasn't the only really big thing that they announced on the stream as well. In light of development and reveal for Medarot Survivor, they did also announce that they are opening an ORIMEDA contest from the start of today, 11/28, to the 7th of January to kind of spearhead more hype for the community and for the game incoming. For those that are unaware of what ORIMEDA contests are, basically it is the equivalent of original and Medarot. So if you have an original design that you've wanted to submit, well, now you have an opportunity to submit it, where the top designs are made into official models to be added into Survivors. And I want to surmise and say they're probably going to keep Survivor and S relatively close to each other, just so they can kind of keep hyping off of each other to a point. So I wouldn't be shocked if the winners that are decided upon for Survivor will eventually find their way in S as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think these ORIMEDA contests, and they've been going on for absolutely forever. The earlier games already all had it. I think it's one of the most interesting aspects of the community as a whole, and the way that we can kind of interact, back with, the designers themselves. It's very cool, and every time they do this, I can't help but have the ORIMEDA winners be part of my favorite bots at the end of it. I don't know, they always have something unique with them. It's fantastic.
I 100% agree, and one thing I really liked is the fact that they've been hosting these a whole lot more often. So even though they have a whole bunch of designs by their resident artists on the back burner ready to go, they're not afraid to introduce a new contest either, to kind of give the fans the ability to kind of stay involved and just kind of submit their own stuff, because a lot of the fan designs honestly end up being a lot of really big bangers as well. Just one example from the most recent one was Taki Yashahime, the skeletal specter type that was revealed in the last batch from Medarot S. That one was an absolute winner for sure. It's no surprise that one was definitely a top.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's super cool. The entire set was amazing, from Anubis theme to, like I said, just in general, the fact they're so unique makes me very excited to see more of them.
And it adds a new approach as well, because it's nice having resident artists make a bunch of stuff consistently, but if you have other people offering different feedbacks or different approaches to even similar designs, such as say beetle types, for instance, that's also what allows things to stay fresh and keep it interesting for not just the players but also for the developers to kind of include more stuff on weeks that they have to kind of start running a little low, or give their resident artists some more time to kind of cook up something. Just as an example, the designer for Musha Beetle and Chiron, or designers I should say, when they had that contest for the Reloaded Sai, I've spoken to both of the artists personally, and for both of those designs, and they were just happy as larks when they saw that their designs won. But it was very unique, the choices that they made for them as well, to help them stand out, not just as fan designs made into official, but also as new approaches to consider looking at for future models or future designs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so cool. I can like kind of go over all of these designs in general for the last few years and just swoon over all of them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and not just the winners either. Just, browsing archives of, last year's entries and etc.
Oh, man.
There's so many I'm like, okay, in my head, you've won. But yeah.
Yeah, like literally, they could open up a contest for 30 days, and I guarantee you that gives them all brand new models for like a year they could pump out and not even have to pump out anything new on their end. And people would absolutely eat it up.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Right.
yeah, like you said, when it comes to the winners, I can imagine there's nothing greater than seeing your own fan creation become, well, not fan, but just reality.
Not fan anymore.
Canon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me see. Answering comment in here. How late am I glitchies? Not super late, honestly, because I had a lot of major scuff, and I still might to a point looking at my drop frames and my connection so far, and I do apologize for that. Not 100% sure where my internet is at today, but you didn't miss too much. Basically, we're just going over kind of the reveals that we're talking about with Medarot Day. The really big one, of course, being a new game incoming, Medarot Survivors, which is a survival-based game akin to, say, Vampire Survivors or Hollow Cure, with a release date of they're shooting for February of next year, so not too terribly long to wait from reveal to release. But going forward, though, the other really big piece of news that they saved for the very end, best for last, was finally the reveal of Shushu 3 and her new appearance, as well as a new single by her, Special One. And I gotta say, they certainly knocked her design out of the park, just like they did Bunny and Leah Lilo, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely. I think this makes her by far my favorite idol type. I'm typing quotes here. Just in general, super cool. If every little aspect of the design has clearly been thought through, and announcing her with a very cool song was fantastic.
One thing I really liked, as well as I thought about it looking at her her new design compared to her previous ones, is the fact that they're actually portraying her in different styles or different positions of music types. So like with her original body, it was very largely like pop idol vocalist, like she was originally designed to be. And then when she revealed her second form, it was more of an elegant like ball gown, like gothic ball gown type of design. And now with this one going into like the hard rocker kind of appearance, definitely gives her a new step in a new area, and that even more so is an effect with the overall vibe and feel of the song's Special One. And I do have to say this as well: 2 words, platform heels.
Threaded platform wheels.
Yeah, so I have to say those heels alone probably give her at least 6 inches of extra height. Let's be real.
Yeah, in general, amazing design, and to kind of push on the music a little bit as well. You're right, it's very fun to see like her the songs being produced very much differ depending on what model we're at. I do hope we stay here for a little longer, because this definitely was my favorite song and genre so far. But yeah, super cool.
I listened to it for like an hour straight on loop after the stream ended while I was putting stuff together, so it already was an absolute banger. And I sent the link to some content creator friends of mine, and they're like, their models were so cute, I must meet them. I'm like, please, if you do, send me a line. But no, they are absolutely adorable designs. I mean, personally, I've always enjoyed Shushu Pop the most, and that's partially biased talking as a steampunk VTuber, but even then, I just really liked her overall design and her aesthetic, and I fell in love with her V2 design when it dropped. So I was really excited that they were going to come up with something unique, and I was thinking to myself, what are they going to do with her V3 form? Because, in my opinion, they peaked with her V2. Like, they absolutely peaked with it, but they continued to impress again with her third form, taking on this more spunky appearance as a rocker vocalist type. So I'm really excited to see how she's going to perform, pun intended, when she does officially drop in Medarot S. For notes on that, as you see here, she will be dropping in Medarot S officially next week on December 5th. So just a little more time to go before she does officially make her drop there. And I am expecting, much like they did with the other two girls, they're going to be boosting the rates for both Shushu and Shushu 2. So it'll probably be a relatively light week as we go into December. And just kind of go back to business as usual now that the hype of November is over and we can kind of carry on to the end of the year. But all the same, love the design, adorable model, amazing song, highly recommend. It is on the official YouTube channel now. You can go listen to it anytime you want. Highly recommend if you have not already. Let me see as we continue on here. That was basically a lot of the highlighted stuff that was touched on with the stream. So pretty much like we've alluded to so far is, it was nice to have all these announcements and things that were being talked about, such as, say, with Medarot's future, and even with the mixed reception of Medarot Survivor, I still like to believe that this is going to be something that'll still show to be a bright future and a direction for Medarot, because even if people may not particularly appreciate a Survivor-type game or even another mobile game, the fact that they're releasing extra stuff at all outside of S just still goes to show that it's still a very well-loved series, and they're not putting it down anytime soon. In fact, they're actually still getting ready to wrap up a collaboration over on Elemental Story, which is another Japan-only game, with a couple of models that were sent their way. We had all the collaborations we ran in Medarot S, and even announced as well they're going to be starting to re-air the anime on the official channel at 1 episode a week for the next year, starting in December. So something else to look forward to as well. Wouldn't that be the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, at this point we have kind of reached a cycle in like the Metabot's life, really, life cycle, where it's any content is fantastic because it means it's staying afloat. And I think the success of Medarot S has been amazing, and seeing all the content from there, plus the fact they're still actively developing it, has been great. And I'm glad we're starting to see things outside of Medarot S as well, which is, like I said, in this case, Medarot Survivors, and of course the anime being relaunched, which is great because I definitely did it last year as well, like watched along, and I will be sure to do it again this year. But yeah, it's just exciting. It shows that there is definitely a direction we're going towards, and yeah, like you said, there has been a bit of a mixed reaction, and yeah, I'd like to believe that I'm most likely part of that as well, but I'm very excited, and I'm very curious to see.
Right, especially now with the lawsuit hopefully in its final stages and they'll put the hammer down for good. It does honestly mean, and this is kind of allude to a conversation I had in the Discord server as I was setting up and compiling all my notes, that once Imagineer does officially own the Metabots and Medarot trademarks globally, I really see no reason why they won't start looking into localization properly again, because they have mentioned in stockholder meetings in previous years that they have acknowledged and seen a spike in international engagement with their various social media pages, with Medarot S players and everything like that. So it's not that they don't know we're here, that they're not noticing us. It's more the case of they had other matters that they needed to attend to first that would likely conflict. So once that's all unsettled, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there would be a good chance of it. Probably not. It's definitely not a 0% chance, but there will definitely be a chance possible that we could probably see more stuff in the future as we go into year 27 for Medarot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the potential, global release of Medarot S would be very interesting. I mean, we're getting close to, 5 years properly. And like you said, we have for a while now heard about these internal Imagineer meetings and shareholder conversations regarding interest in, expanding boundaries. I think for a lot of people, the 2020 5 Medarot Day, when they started teasing something was coming, was kind of expectation, this is what they'll be working on. I think people kind of stopped thinking about that when they said, oh, but this is something completely new, not
Right.
Medarot S related. But, you know, like you said, the lawsuit was something that really, really made a mess of things, and it's definitely messed with any imaginable timescale. And clearly based on Medarot Survivors, which is only launching in Japan in Japanese, as far as we know, at least as far as been announced in the live stream. Even there, they didn't want to push. So it clearly showed that even like Japanese national products were like kind of like, you know, obstructed as well.
Right, and being completely honest, I'm going to kind of theory craft here for a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of using Survivors as like a launch pad, because, you know, having another game to be launched and released is nice, but it does kind of lead you to wonder, you know, where's the series going to go from here? Excuse me. We already know for a fact that the story of Reloaded Sai is not finished. The author stated when he was on with Producer San to celebrate the launch for Musha Beetle and Kyren, that the story's not over, and he implied very strongly that we will be seeing a development of that at some point in the future. So there already is a very bright possibility of it continuing on into year 27. Only time will tell going forward, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more developments or them being just a little more vocal on things going forward, now that hopefully that the lawsuit is over with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's like you said yourself, it's only a matter of time before we get more information regarding it. I just hope that it hasn't scared them away at the same time, because they seem to be gearing up for international, then all of this started happening. Right. And yeah, there's been
Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. Okay. There's been a few interesting notes regarding this as well. Maybe this is a bit conspiracy time, so let me prefix that there's no way this is anyway confirmed, but I think it's quite interesting that they purposely called out on their live stream that it was a Japan only. They made a big point out of that, of pointing it out, which I think is interesting, because they haven't done that. They didn't do that for the Medarot S release. I double checked that. So it's kind of weird that they purposely like point that out. And secondary, someone pointed out to me that when you go to the App Store, so the iOS App Store, the app is tagged as launched in English, not in Japanese. That might of course be a mistake, because the Android Play Store does say Japan. But it's quite interesting if there's something there. I know that's full conspiracy, but I like to believe.
And honestly, just to kind of bounce on that theory craft a little more, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually would consider releasing Survivors as on a global scale, because again, it's a very easy game, very easy to understand for anyone that has played a Survivor type game. And it would also be a really good opportunity to introduce brand new models and fresh faces alongside a lot of iconic characters everybody knows, as a way to kind of reintroduce the series back into the West.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what you said earlier as well, that being a bit of like an experimentation, you know, so they don't have to, because let's be honest, putting Medarot S for a global release is going to be quite an expensive move.
Yes.
And there's 5 years of content to catch up and to translate and etc. And that's quite a, there's a lot of eggs in a potential very unstable basket.
Right.
Indeed, releasing Survivors as like oh hey, you heard of this Metabots before, right? Well, what do you think of this? Now, at the same time, that's also a two-sided edge, because at the same time, it is not comparable to the main games at all. So if it does draw in more folk in the West, if they do release it like globally, and then they are like, oh, I'm glad you like this, here's our main franchise, which is completely different. It's still a bit of an unusual metric for them to kind of compare with, because it's a very different audience. For a strategic game versus a very quick-paced kind of like casual game.
I understand. It's just a thought I'm having anyway, as a possibility they could consider. And I know some people probably argue with me saying, Kura, you're coping because it's a new Medarot game, and well, you're partially right. I'll own it. But at the same time, I also have to try to remain largely unbiased in this, to the point where, I am just a hair bummed that it's not necessarily as big as we thought it would be. But trying to look at this beyond the scope of, oh, it's a mobile game, or oh, it's a survivors game, nothing really special. I mean, I understand it may not be something that we were hoping for, but like I said, the fact that they're still releasing things for it, especially with completely new endeavors, and especially with keeping Medarot S up as long as they have. Most gacha games in this category usually tend to fall after like year 2 or 3. And here is Medarot S chugging along at 5 without stopping. So it's really nice that they're doing that. But the fact that they're going through with this endeavor, with Medarot S, with now Survivors, with the physical merch that you can buy on the web store, using the web store as an alternative in-app purchase for if you want to pick up on any bundle packs for S or anything like that, it's still growing. It's still showing things off. It's still releasing new merchandise and new things. So it's good to know that it's still being worked on and kind of nurtured slowly over time. I kind of wish it could be nurtured a little faster, but it's progress, and that's all I'm trying to see it as. And I wouldn't be I can definitely count on the fact that when it does go live, I will for sure be playing Medarot Survivor. I'm going to try to see if I could shoot for it being on a stream after a couple times me playing it and getting the use of it. Mostly because I've actually not played a bunch of those, so it'll be a completely brand new experience for me. But I'm also going to be using that moment to kind of translate some general stuff on the side, kind of like I have been with S, just to kind of keep the community in the know if they do want to play. I am going to also say it here, much like I did in the server this morning. I will not be breaking down every last model in Survivor, much like I am S. That is that is a lot of work, and I really don't think a survival type game needs it, because there's not going to be a whole lot of, say, personal skills or anything that I really need broken down aside from this one has this specific attack pattern, this one has this kind of emphasis, and that really doesn't need its own breakdown in my opinion. Maybe just this one's good for this reason that I could comment to you simply in a stream or something and say, yeah, I like using this one because he has wide coverage, or I like using this one because they like slowing things down. Nothing really super in-depth, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. Yeah, just anything, and of course, all depending that you like the game. I hope you're not going in and being like, okay, I'm gonna have to wake up, push myself through talking about Survivors if you don't like it. But yes, hopefully it will be something very, very fun and very cool.
Right.
One thing that I do want to push a little bit on as well, something that you mentioned as well, is that on the more positive side, I do think that Medarot Survivors resemble something very important, because in another universe, Medarot Survivors could have been a mobile game that only uses Medabi, Rakusho, Peppercat, your typical series. Has nothing to do with Medarot S. There's no backwards events or collabs, and they don't invent new bots for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a pure nostalgia cash grab.
Right.
That's not what it is either, because it doesn't just come with a Kabuto and Nukawagata. It comes with 4 to start off with, and the promise of many more, and then a very nice starting roster as well. It's promising and proving to us, I'd say, and luckily, because else I'd be very upset, that they're indeed investing into it. So a lot of people are like, oh, this looks, I've read some people were like, oh, this looks like a quick cash grab or anything like that. I don't think that's the case, because like I said, they would just put Medabi, Rakusho on the cover, a few of the common ones from the anime, launch it, okay, that's it.
Right.
But yeah, be willing to maintain it, which is great.
Right, and they're putting effort to make this clear, and they even stated up front, yeah, at launch it's going to have 30 different titles. It's going to have 30 different models, including the 4 that we saw, aside from a handful of other iconic models. They also are hosting a pre-register campaign right now, where if they can hit a certain number before launch, they're going to be handing out the Screws Trio, Cyan Dog, Keith Turtle, and Peppercat to all players for free. So they're already kind of starting to make it exciting for folks just to at least sign up and pre-register, just as a way to just try it when it comes out. And if you don't like it, well, you at least were willing to stick out with it, and we appreciate that much. And just to kind of see where it's at, and you were right, if this was released any sooner, it probably would not be nearly as diverse or as unique as it is now with all these new models, because, well, A, they wouldn't exist, and B, they probably would not have nearly the connections that they do now, from collaborations or reaching out and having other business ventures. So I'd say people argue it was bad timing, like it came too late or too early, and I'd say honestly, it came at a good time. Not the time we expected, but it's still a good time in its history with all the new faces and all the high IPs that they've been able to make friends with through Medarot S, just to kind of help keep things fresh and introduce it.
Yes, absolutely.
And just to kind of touch on a comment here from Sean, it says, well, someone has taken notice of the translations. I saw people asking about them on a website and wanting to know when they can play 4 and if you guys are working on 5. Yeah, that actually is a really good segue into this slide, so we can go ahead and move forward with that. But if you are knowledgeable in coding, cleaning Japanese, or have some time on your hands, or if you know somebody that is, we are always looking for translators to assist us with any current projects or endeavors. With Medarots 1 and 3 completed, they honestly have been making some incredible progress with that overall, with being able to play a lot of the old stories that were not previously known to the EN community. There is work starting to go towards Medarot 4, and there is an interest in 5, but we do need the manpower to do so. So if you are knowledgeable in coding, cleaning Japanese, have some time on your hands, or if you know somebody that is, join our Discord, ask around, or even reach out to me personally on Twitter or Blue Sky, whichever is your usual poison these days with all these social media platforms changing and coming and going. I'm more than happy to get you in touch with the right people to fill you in, because the more people that we have that can assist with that, the easier it is for us to do so. Alternatively, if you are not knowledgeable or if you don't know anybody but still want to contribute in some way, inside the link to this specific, in the description to this specific stream, is a link to my friend Variant's crowdfunding that is still up. So you can always donate to it so that they can commission having some of those extra lines completed to kind of lighten the workload. Because the more help we have, the faster we can take care of them and the more we can get to the other games. Because, and I'm sure Ruben would agree, we would love to see other games such as 4 and 5 and Navi, or even start working on the other 3DS titles as well, but we just need help being able to do it.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, the team is working so hard. It is lovely seeing, their pushes being, sent to the repositories and just kind of looking what they're doing. And I don't think these people sleep. It's actually insane how much work they're putting in.
No kidding. Like, they basically stopped with 3 and then they just didn't break stride and started straight on 4. In fact, they actually started decompiling 4 before they ever finished 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these people, like I said, they don't sleep. So yeah, and if there's any way you can contribute, please do. That'd be really, really cool. And, well, if not in any of these ways that, Kura mentioned, maybe just pop on over and say, hi, I tried it. It's great. It's very fun to see some,
100%
people enjoy. Absolutely.
100%. And just to comment on that as well, touching back on my What is Medarot collab I had about a week ago, when I had a chance to speak with Miss Kana about her time as a story writer, she did state very explicitly that Medarot 4 was her favorite game that she loved writing the story to, because she had the most freedom with it. So very excited to see the story of that, and even hearing feedback from the players that downloaded the patch for 3 are saying now that they can see the story for themselves, it is probably one of the best Medarot games they've ever played. So it's very nice to hear that feedback. And as a friendly reminder of that collaboration, it is permanently available on my YouTube here. So what is Medarot? I did have several very dear friends of mine join in for that very special collaboration, as we basically broke down everything that as an ultimate beginner's guide to Medarot. What it is, how it works, what they do, where it's been, where and how you can support it and get involved, everything from start to finish. So even if it has just a little bit longer of a runtime, I do highly recommend you take a look at it and listen in or watch it when you get a chance. So if you've ever wondered anything about Medarot's history, that is absolutely a place you should go. But as we step away from this for just a moment and continue on, now comes the other really big moment of the stream, and that is finally revealing the winners and all the entrants from the Project Rising Beetle Orimeda contest that we've had all the way through October into late November. And I gotta say, we had a lot of dark horses come absolutely flying out of nowhere in just that last week alone, with all these really unique designs that were underneath the theme and the criteria. And just as a friendly reminder for that before we go forward, the theme for this specific Orimeda contest was RPG, so your role-playing games. So dust out your old D&D sheets and your old trading and your tabletop RPGs, because that was the theme of this specific contest. And y'all didn't disappoint. I'm gonna be completely real with you. I would have loved personally to see more entries in there, so you guys had to make it impossible for us to decide like 20 or something, from all the participation. But we still got a handful of entries, and every last one of them were incredibly creative with how they portrayed it. Isn't that right?
It's been fantastic. Like the amount of submissions, absolutely, it's great, and quality as well. Not just design wise, but there's so much thought being put into these designs that we saw. And what I really like about the community is that the channel we have for discussing the art as well was extremely positive, with people brainstorming about different ideas and complimenting other entries and whatnot. It's always fun to see people come together and just tinker with some Metabots for a while. But yeah,
right.
I'd say it's a really good amount of entries for sure. I can imagine you'll design a little bit more, but goodness, it was already difficult enough to try to sort them in any way of order. But yeah.
Easily. There was just a bunch of really creative designs, and even if the art might not have been there, the design and the inspiration behind it and how they planned the back end was just as creative all the same. And I state this in every time we host a contest, and I'm definitely going to try to host more as we go into 2025, maybe like once every couple months or 2 or 3 months or something, maybe, or every 3 or 4, just to kind of keep the community engaged and ongoing over the course of the year. But as we kind of step into that and kind of look over all the entries here, this first one that was put up by Zero Mythos, Wild Change, which I think they said was a design based on a owl bear transformation. And I really liked the creativity that they did there with all the different forms, and even just the putting the part names and the skills together as well.
Yeah, that was really cool. Definitely one of my favorite D&D creatures in general, so seeing some representation is great, and having it transform is just great. There were not a lot of people that went for a meta change route, and I always like it when people go the effort of putting one in.
Right, because it's really hard to try to consider an alternative form when you're designing something unless you're really focused and like locked in with it. So Zero definitely took that extra incentive with an owlbear kind of transformation like that, and it most certainly paid off. One thing I do want to mention as well on Zero was the fact that he came and announced just casually, toward the end of the contest, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this is just one of like 18 different designs that I came up with, I wanted to come up with. I'm like, buddy, can you put those somewhere for someone else to find? Because we like all those extra concepts might just be the juices that someone else needs to, keep things going and even come up with their own creative design.
Yes, absolutely. It's been good.
So very creative there. Wonderful work, Zero, and thank you for your submission. The next one that we had here, next couple actually, both by Mouth and Krogs, were designed for a Witch and a Shadow Master type. And I really liked the designs that they came up with these two as well. With over here on the left, we have a Witch Hill, a Hag type, and then on the right, we have, of course, Shadow Master. So really creative designs over here. Mages and Warlocks in general are things that are honestly like, of course, they're going to be something super expected and that you might see once or twice. I mean, even in Medarot, they've done it already with, say, like Dark Wizard, Darkness Mage, or even with Amira Mages recently in Medarot S, but the idea of Warlock or Hag in general is just something you can take in a million different directions, and these are just 2 additional examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was fun to see not just, a lot of as the party's perspective, but it's kind of nice to see perhaps, more, the big bad evil perspective, which both of these definitely, shout more that to me. And yeah, they're just great.
Right. Definitely wonderful designs too, and again, it's hard to take just one particular route with different designs and prompts, because you could give the same prompt to like a million different people and you'll get a million different results and approaches, even if they tackle the same theme or motive. Like, just as an example, we'll take the Beetle type series as a great example. There's so many different models of KBT, each with their own different approach or style, and true, some of them might be successors or upgrades, or even nearly identical to other models in the series, but each and every last one of them is unique, and that's what makes them stand out. And this is most certainly no exception either with the Warlock or Mage kind of design that a lot of these designs like to go with.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in general, I quite like it. And like you said a bit as well, the set as well, description behind it, the design behind it, and both are very, very lovely.
100%. So thank you to the both of you as well for your entries. I'm looking forward to seeing more, or possibly even seeing more engagement participation as we host more going into 2025. The next one here, if I can continue on. There we go. This one here was by Gansiel, who's been in a number of contests in the past. This one with Dread Beauty. But honestly, Gansiel has been around for a number of contests in the past too, and their designs never disappoint, with a lot of very creative takes for a lot of their waifu type concepts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if I can just talk a second for like the art style as well, like the coloring, it's absolutely beautiful. Not to only focus on the art here, but it looks so good.
It's a very stark, hard outline and really very bright contrasting colors within. Makes it stand out really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and design-wise as well, it's very cool. I also like that we got two slightly different perspectives, one directly from the front, one bit from the side. It's quite nice.
Gives a little bit more of a perspective on how they would look, in a proposed 3D environment. So I really like that with their designs as well, with making them original, unique, and a lot of very creative designs overall, which much like with a lot of these contests are basically what we are looking forward to see. So it just goes to show as well that even if you may not have really good art skills or really creative, creative thinking or design skills, you can still put something really unique together and make it work and make it look really fancy. And that's honestly something I really like about hosting these. I do have to say I regret not hosting any sooner through this past year, but with everything ongoing at the time, I just was never really able to coordinate time into putting something together. But hopefully that'll change going into the next year, and we'll start hosting more and keep you guys all engaged and entertained. But thank you, Gonseal, for your design as well. It was very creative and always nice to see yet another creation from you. The next couple that were introduced here was from Grey Mallows with Don Win, which is a very very creative take. Honestly, out of I almost listed this one as an honorable mention because I really like the creative approach they did on a windmill night with a Don Quixote theme. I really liked that one.
Yes, this is really good. Theme-wise, absolutely perfect.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely combination of like characters and just in general, and just seeing the little guy on the side of it as well. I've been laughing pretty hard the first time I saw it. Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. It's a creative take. It's not something I've seen in any other Orimeda contest before. So right. Yeah, I'm very pleased.
I really like the design on there overall. Very creative, very original take on it. Not just as a windmill, but also as a knight in general, with a very creative theme. And this one here by my dear friend Loddle, also known as Lord of the Losers, who's another fellow YouTuber of mine. He does a lot of gameplays for, say, like with Medarot games. He just finished Medarot Navi several months ago, which I did a retrospective with him on. But picked up a handful of other games in the series as well that he's been working on. Put this design together for a Sharp Gazer, which I did not put the art here, but actually had an original design and theme direction of wanting to transform into a beholder. So a very unique take as well, and I really like the time and effort you put into making this design fit within the genre as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, a big fan of the leg design choice. It's kind of interesting that when you design a beholder, that it's quite, understandable you might go for like a flying or floating type, but seeing it as a proper tail until it transforms is a nice little twist to it.
I 100% agree, and what I really liked as well is with the alternative art that Loddle did with it transforming into the beholder, the tail actually ended up becoming the equivalent of like a tongue for the beholder. Yes. When it transforms. So I thought that was a really creative take as well. So, Grey Mallows, Loddle, I do appreciate both of y'all's entries. Thank you so much for taking time to participate, and I hope to see more as we host more contests in the future. Now, stepping forward with another handful of really nice designs, though. This one here by Dibal Lyle, I do hope I pronounced that correctly. Florelecto with a Magibook, another original take on a caster mage type. And of course our resident Navaldius, who did another really unique RPG type with a thief type and lockpick. I have to say, the last one that Navaldius did was a mage type back with the last contest that actually I believe made honorable mention. So they're already really creative with designs as well, and it was really nice seeing both of these two added in there as well.
Yes, these two are absolutely fantastic. I like design's element from both of them quite a lot. It's like I said earlier, it has been so difficult trying to rank these in any way because every different design, like, oh, I really like this part, oh, I like really this part about it. But yeah, just with all the entries we're getting, it's getting more and more difficult.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but yeah, both these designs are so cool. It's quite nice. Magic for example, does give you like your more your typical like stance on like magic users, but yet has like enough design elements where I'm like, yeah, it definitely
It stands
stands on
out
its
as its
own.
own, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course a very cool thief type Medarot. I'm pretty sure I've seen a Shady Cat in all of my D&D campaigns. So it's cool to see that properly represented as well. I like the doll-like elements on it quite a bit. You don't always see that. So yeah, both of them very cool.
100%. And one thing I actually really liked about Magibook 2 was the fact that compared to most other designs that took very sharp or very contrasting design appearances or colors, Magibook is very it's very soft. Pastel,
Yeah.
yes, it's very soft colors. So something that's not as dynamic or as not as dynamic or fluid. Appreciate it for that approach.
Yeah, and absolutely likewise. It reminds me a bit of, oh, please do help me because I forgot the name of it. The Aqua type female bot we've seen some time ago as well.
With like Aqua Crown or
Aqua Crown. Aqua Crown, that's
or
the one. Yes.
Aquaneriad.
Oh, what's gonna be Aquanarian? The same one with the similar kind of blue element that has like actual fluids running through it.
Right.
Yeah, it's very like I can see the two of them like in the same team.
Very
with like
easily.
the same kind of style. Very nice.
Very easily. So, Debaldius, thank you so much for your entries. I'm looking forward to seeing more in the future as we hold more contests, and I do hope you guys had a lot of fun with it. But as we officially go into the honorable mentions, those that definitely were just a little bit above the rest, but still just as creative all the same, our resident Iron Clark came up with another creative, unique approach for the iconic Beholder type, with Eyesore. And one thing I really liked about this one, as one of the earlier entries when the contest began, was the little nod they put with the flavor text there, saying it was developed by wizards on a nearby coast. I thought that was a really neat little nod.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But I also really like of this design is that it's still very clearly, even though compact, 4 different parts. You can clearly see where the arm part's divided from the head part and the leg part. So it still has that Metable's charm to it, but like with a great spin on it, and just
Right.
I like the little panel linings. It's great.
Right, and that definitely added to its level of detail for the fact that it's small, it's chunky, but you can still tell what it is, and it's also still in the same vein of being considered a Medarot. So I'm more than certain if you gave this to, say, Tiuga, for instance, and had him draw it down, people would take one look at it and say, oh yeah, that's gotta be an original design. Like, oh no, it was a fan design. They're like, wait, really? But it was a very unique design, and again, Beholder is one of those iconic monsters for D&D and RPGs in general, so it's generally a theme you can't go wrong with, and I really appreciated the approach that Iron Clark took with it, not just with the part names and the skills, but also with the flavor text, like I mentioned. So
Absolutely.
wonderful work to Iron Clark as well. Thank you for your entry. Definitely great job on hitting honorable mention as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing even more creative outlets from you in the future as we hold more contests going forward. The other honorable mention of the two, as we get into our as we get into our top tiers, is by and I'm probably gonna botch this, Vacius Mermaid. Do correct me if I did pronounce that wrong. They actually had 2 designs in here. This one was the honorable mention with Trick Knife, another elusive thief type that was portrayed in the RPG theme.
This screams rogue in every single way. Elf rogues, super cool. Design-wise is very cool. It reminds me absolutely of more the first generation, or actually the second generation of Metabots designs for sure. And it looks really nice. The little design elements from the gloves being folded over properly and the boots itself, they really add something to it. It's great. And of course the little description, I always appreciate it when people add a little bit more of that kind of world building into it. It's great. And of course, can we just talk about the sprite art for a second as well?
Oh yes.
That is such a nice touch. That is lovely.
It's very clean too. I really like that addition as well. And you actually made a really good point. I didn't think about it initially when I looked at this design the first time, and even their other design that they submitted for the contest is I really liked the approach that they took to make this feel like a second generation, like an actual like Medarot 2 style kind of aesthetic to it, which really made it stand out on its own, and why this one actually was one of the favorites when it was put together.
Yeah, absolutely. Design style, as in general, I can also imagine being added to the Medarot collection that was released a few years ago. It's the same kind of like display to that as well, and it's very lovely.
Right. I really like that creative take as well. And again, a lot of people usually will portray, you know, elf or rogues as like really sleek or really elegant kind of designs hiding under a cloak, and the unique take with this one is just like making it a very simple cloak and a mask with the iconic ears, you know. It's very simple, it's very plain, very to the point, and that's honestly the biggest charm to it. So wonderful entries here as well for honorable mentions to both Mermaid and to Iron Clark. Wonderful work to the both of you, and to everyone else, of course, for your creative designs, as we go into officially the top 3 and our winners of the OriMeda contest. Now, in third place, as we climb up the ranking, is Metal Chowman's entry of Aringa Rosa, a new take on a goddess type that actually hides a little more of a sinister secret once you get close enough to her.
It's just fantastic. Once again, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but having alternative forms for the same, you know, bot requires a lot of like insight of its design and kind of already knowing where you're gonna take it. The theming is so powerful. I love it, and once again, flavor text, proper quotes, cool descriptions, amazing, you know, ability types. Yeah, this really has it all.
100%. And honestly, you know, the bot design and the kit, you know, is I usually try to make it a point where if you can put a good design to paper and give it a skill set of what it does in battle and some part names, you know, that's all you'd really need. But to go that extra mile with the flavor text and just kind of really bring it to life on how you think it would behave in battle is just icing on the cake, and I honestly love that. I live for that. That's why when I actually designed my most recent ones with a Sentai Hero or Last Citadel or even Bozeto, which was my take on a prototype KBT, and I mentioned it as being constantly irritable and hostile. It's that extra flavor text that brings it to life and gives it personality is what really sells a good design. And I really like that Metal Chowman put that extra effort into helping bring it to life, and especially making each form unique as it stands apart.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's great. Really happy with all of these contributions so far, but yeah, we're definitely getting closer to, like, you know, the tops, you can tell.
100%. So wonderful work, Metal Chowman. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're able to get this submitted in time, because I know you were telling me that you were having some struggles with your tablet for a while, so really glad to see it and glad you got that fixed, because all your work most certainly paid off with this very creative outlet and result. Looking forward to seeing more as we do host more contests. In our second place spot, we have a resident Nier who came up with a fresh design from a D&D character that they designed a while ago for someone else, called the Gilded. And I gotta say, it was really hard not to pick this one as a first place winner, because it was just a creative design from start to finish.
Yes, this definitely falls in the category of naturalistic looking Metabots, but then the more you look at it, the more you realize, like, oh, actually it's still very robotic, it still has those design elements. It's an amazing combination. Very cool.
Kind of a techno-organic, I think, as some people would call it.
Exactly. It reminds me a bit of Metal Eater for that same purpose. It's yeah, very, very cool. Once again, flavor text, fantastic. I like the idea of custom medals. I think that's such a cool little like nod to our things as well. And you know, seeing a representation of its abilities in the art as well. In this case, and you can see the massive, you know, smoke behind him, and then the description that matches that. Yeah, very cool. Definitely like a very, very like talented artist behind this for sure.
Oh, 100%. And it honestly was really nice too, because Nier stated that it was inspired off of another design I think they said it was called Gilded Mink, I believe they said it was called, for that they did for a D&D campaign that they designed the monster for. So it was really nice because they already had the inspiration there, and all they had to do was just, mechanize and chibify it, and they'd have a really unique design and just have to basically translate it.
Yeah, exactly. That's something like that I might want to touch on as well, is that they also posted the art for their D&D version as well to compare it against. And even though it definitely has the same elements to it, it is very much a different thing. It is being translated so well into a Medarot design that it looks fantastic. It looks like it belongs. It looks like a secret final boss for the 3DS era of games.
Oh, easily. I absolutely would agree with that. And like I said, it was really hard to not pick this one as the first place winner, but Nier did a really good job on this one, and wonderful work to you for that reason. You all just in the previous contests as well that you participated in, you've always had some very creative designs as well. So looking forward to seeing more from that creative mind of yours in future contests. Thank you for your entry. Now, the final entry that was introduced and the first place winner of this contest was actually a last-minute entry that was submitted basically in the very final, even 24 hours or so before the contest closed. And that was actually by a resident VTuber, much like I am, named Helm-chan, who actually was with me for my What is Medarot stream. But the first place winner goes to Helm-chan for Heatsmith, a blacksmith-type design that has a very unique take on something that isn't actively considered or even portrayed often in Medarot. And I'm, of course, not saying this as biased because I'm a steampunk-based VTuber, but it's just a very creative take overall with how they chose to portray it.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, this definitely came in very much at the end of it. We had already kind of gone through some of the designs, not expecting, but seeing this come from a sharp corner was very cool. Let me just quickly say as well, it was so difficult making a top 3 out of all of these amazing contributions.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I think what eventually did kind of push Heatsmith a little bit higher for us was a combination of different elements. It is very cool to see a RPG kind of element that is in every RPG but not very much explored, that being like the backlines, the blacksmiths, the people that stay behind but keep the adventure going.
Exactly.
And I already said it a few times, I'll say it one more time, flavor texting. Their description here is so extremely good. A hot-headed blacksmith that can, grab their enemies. Now, you can just imagine it, grabbing a impatient customer or whatnot as well, and just going off at it.
100%.
Design, yeah, absolutely. Design is very cool. I like the different little touch elements on it as well. Yeah, just in general, very, very cool.
Very, indeed. And like I said before, flavor text is always great for bringing it to life. I am a sucker for flavor text because that it's just that extra element that really helps it stand out and makes it, brings it to life and makes it more, what's the word? Not personal, but it makes it more,
immersive. It feels like it walks straight out of the next game. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you could literally, like, if you took the entire background, everything aside, and showed me a picture of Heatsmith, I mean, the art style, I would say, yeah, it looks like it was a fan design. But honestly, if they were to build a working 3D model of this and include it in Medarot S, just as a ninja update, like, don't even, say anything about it, just drop it casually, let people notice on its own, I guarantee you it would probably fit in so seamlessly because of just how creative it was and with its unique take to stand out on its own.
Yes, to quickly go over on the comments that you made regarding its art style and comparing it to the other entries as well. I think the most important thing that we look at is we don't do an art contest, but it's a design contest.
Yes.
And
yes.
Even though a quality of art does help, bring your ideas closer to what you had in mind, and it does help, it's definitely the design that we look for.
100%. And I state that in every contest as well, just to reiterate, is we're not looking for art. And even Horomorin himself stated, it's not necessarily the art or how complex or intricate a design is that makes it stand apart from the others. It's the creativity and the time and effort that goes into making something unique and bringing it to life. So, for instance, just as an example, we could use a theme of, say, trains. Okay, let's just pick that, okay? We'll pick that theme. Yeah, exactly. We'll pick a theme of trains, and that's the entire contest. You'll have all these different entries that portray locomotives, freight cars, rolling stock, or just things around trains in general. And it's the creativity that goes behind it that we're looking for. So even if somebody created this really intricate locomotive design, filled it with references to all these different historical points or locomotives of history, absolutely, you know, it would for sure capture. But if compared to a design that, say, maybe wouldn't have had the most creative art on the back end, but maybe was something a little more simplistic and not as, say, busy or complicated or intricate, might actually still win out because the simplicity of it would fit far better in a Medarot situation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, I do want to say that we're not saying this right now because Helmchan's art is in any way under the bar. We think this one's really beautiful. But like Kura said, just in general, because this is something that we do sometimes see going in and out of these competitions and whatnot.
In fact,
but yeah.
Yes, and in fact, even just to tie back into my collaboration again, when I spoke with Mr. Tagro specifically stated that the big charm to Medarot is the lack of refinement. So sometimes having too much detail actually becomes a detriment because you've overthought it and you've reinvented the wheel 3 times over. And your design might absolutely be a knockout of the park, but if you compare it to, say, Metabee or Rokusho, you can tell very obviously it's a very busy looking, very detailed looking model. And sometimes less is more is definitely a far better approach to take with a lot of these designs. And I'm not saying that to say, you know, we'll strip everything down and don't make anything complex, but take it as an encouragement for a lot of folks that say are not really good at art or claim that they don't do art very well. Because when we host these contests, we absolutely want to see all the designs that you guys can come up with. Whether you draw it on paper, whether you draw it on digital, whether you decide to go the whole 9 yards and go through the whole Photoshop and everything to make it fancy, it's completely up to you. But it's the creativity behind it is what we're looking for in all these contests. And it honestly blows me away every time that we host one and see all these creative takes and approaches on themes. And usually every time we host a contest, I always kind of wonder to myself, are we going to do it with a theme and try to give people an idea, or should we kind of just let them go nuts and see what they come up with? But wonderful work to all of our entrants. I honestly love seeing every last one of them, and much like Ruben said, it was so hard to figure out winners because they were just all so good.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to what the next contacts will look like, please let us know what you guys think as well. We want to see what makes you guys excited to pick up a pencil or, a digital drawing, or how you want to do your art. Yeah, it's always been fun. There's too many entries usually to go over, but it's so good.
100%.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
100%. Wonderful entries. Thank you for the participation. And like I said, the 3 winners will be getting detailed concept sheets that are drawn by yours truly. I will even do them on stream so you guys can hang out with me while I do it. I am going to try to coordinate those in the near future and try to stay on top of that. Because honestly, just you guys give me all these designs like that honestly gives me more of a reason to stream, because I really dropped the ball on that over the last couple months with preparing for my collaboration and putting all the notes together and everything like that. So it was really nice. I really like being able to do that, and hopefully it's just something you can use as a little reward of saying, look at my art and someone else that portrayed it. It was really creative. And one last note I want to mention on topic of the contest is, even outside of contests, if we're not hosting one, there are a couple of very important resources you can use if you want to create your own designs. The first of which is the randomized Medarot kit generator that I put together and I continually update. Basically, it'll give you an option of a theme that you can select from a drop-down. It'll also spit out 3 random skills, a leg type, an ability, and a heavy limit. So all you have to do once you find a kit that you like is simply just realize it. So if you get a design that gives you a very easy, say, melee-oriented kit with multi-legs and a medieval theme, well, there you go. You already have the seedling of an idea. All you have to do is just tinker with the drawing until you find a design that you like. Additionally, we also have the Medarot S Master Skills list that also is continually updated. That basically is just a description of all the skills in Medarot S that is currently up to date, what they do, how they behave, so you can also peruse that. And if you decide that you like the skill, say, I'll just pick one out of a hat. Say, for instance, Disaster or Terminate or Big Bang. You can look at those skills and say, I have an idea of how I can use that. All you have to do is just put it to paper and bring it to life. And I'm more than happy to share links to those with you whenever you get the opportunity, or if you do feel led to. Just don't be afraid to pick up the pencil and actually do it. But as we step away from here and just kind of wrap up, because I know we have been running just a little bit longer than I hoped for, despite the scuffing, and looking at my frames and everything right now, it looks like everything seemed to have balanced back out. Go figure. But still was an absolute treat being able to cover the coverage for Medarot Day, even if it was just a little scuffed at the beginning. I do hope that it still did get the point across of what is incoming for Medarot, just the general overall feel of what it's like and what we can see and expect down the pike. Not only that, Ruben, it was an absolute treat having you with me once again, my guy. I gotta have you with me again more often and not just once a year for Medarot Day. So, would love to try to coordinate something with you. There is always a seat here at the desk for you anytime.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute blast. Yeah, I'm happy we were able to go through all of the cool things that we were told today, as well as, being able to show off all the amazing artwork made by the community. It puts me in a very happy place, seeing how, how this community is growing from when we first started years and years ago. Yeah, I couldn't be happier. So thank you so much for having me, and I can promise you, hopefully, that it will be before the next Medarot Day that you will see me again.
You will see me pestering you on that when I get the chance. I'm kidding, mostly. But anyway,
that's what I thought.
if you'd like to, but if you guys would like to know more and follow a community, you can follow us on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page or the Metabots Forever community on there that I do run and manage. Currently, the Facebook community alone has skyrocketed to over 40,000 members and is still growing by the day. And most of that growth is in this last year alone. So I am blown away by just how fast that community has grown, and especially with bringing Metarotters from across the world together in one concentrated place just to talk about our favorite small fighting robots. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any links to merchandise, fan art, contests, my weekly episodes, coverages, or anything else of the like. Or if you have any questions for me or Ruben as far as the server or just Medarot in general, you can always reach out to us on there. Also, you can reach out to me personally on Twitter or on Blue Sky at Isagamikura. So if you have any questions or feedback as well, as far as the content creating realm is concerned, I'm more than happy to answer questions there. And if you are a content creator, VTuber, YouTuber, whatever your platform may be, and would love to collaborate and try to make something happen, I would absolutely love to have you, and even having a group collab with Ruben back with me again for a little bit of a party. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. There's always room here at the desk, or if you'd like to have me or even both of us stop by on your channel for a friendly chat or a game, more than happy to try to make something happen there as well. Lastly, do also give the official Twitter pages a follow as well at Medarot SV, which is the brand new Twitter page that was opened for Medarot Survivor, and show your support there as well to keep in the know with anything with that game. And of course the official Medarot S channel as well that keeps up to date with anything to do with Medarot S as a whole, and also rebounds a lot of stuff from the official Medarot page at Medarotsha. So wonderful stuff on there, and that's also where I get all my news as well. So if you want to get your news straight from the source, that's the place you gotta go. But once again, thank you so much for stopping by with us once again as well. Ruben, again, one more time, thank you for stopping in and sitting in with me here to cover the anniversary and even just kind of talk about the mixed reception and everything like that. It's always been great having you with me, bud.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. It's been very, very fun. I feel like we've been able to kind of talk about both perspectives, the happy and perhaps the slightly little sad, but I'm glad that we got to a good space. I also do quickly want to take the time, since you mentioned the Discord, to announce that today we hit exactly 1,700 members. Yay!
Oh, so we have.
So glad to see that growing more and more as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and say farewell to you real quick, Ruben, and pass that off. All right, but with that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do, folks. And I do also apologize for the scuffing and having to restart the stream. I could not, unfortunately, count on that on my end. Not 100% sure where the bug was, but hopefully it will not happen again. Hopefully. But with all that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.